There's a dream I feel so rare, so real. All the world in union, the world has gone.
Newlands, May the 25th, 1995. Cape Town is a picture postcard as 416 rugby players, the pride of 16 nations, gather for the 3rd Rugby World Cup. This is the culmination of 4 long years of preparation. And in the next 4 weeks of intense competition, dreams will come true, hopes will be shattered, and at the end of it all, a new rugby champion of the world will be crowned.
On behalf of our Rainbow Nation, I welcome you all.
A wonderful, joyful and colourful welcome is laid on by the Rainbow Nation of South Africa as the world waits to see defending champions Australia lock horns with the new boys on the block, South Africa. This is the world in union.
It is my privilege to declare this, the 1995 Rugby World Cup tournament, open.
Wallaby captain Michael Lynagh's kick-off signals the start of the 3rd World Cup, and 2 good catches by Mark Andrews and Andre Joubert settle the nerves of a tense Springbok team. It's a game both teams want to win to ensure an easier run in the playoff section of the tournament. Both the Springboks fly half Joel Stransky and Lynagh are successful with penalties, but the honour of scoring the first try in Rugby World Cup 1995 fittingly falls to Wallaby captain Lynagh, a superb effort after the Wallabies had recycled the ball 6 times. But the Springboks' response is quick and spectacular as skipped passes to the left create space for Peter Hendricks, the man who got his chance when Chester Williams withdrew. Newlands erupts as Hendricks punches the air in joy. The flying Springbok leaves the great David Campese for dead and hurtles in for the try, which sets South Africa on the road to a famous victory. With the wind at their backs in the second half, the Springboks concentrate on keeping the Wallabies under pressure. They do well to secure the ball at kickoffs and use the wind to keep the Wallabies pinned down. Points machine Stransky is right on form and he hits the ball sweetly to give his team the lead. The Springboks have another string to their bow as Stransky, as well as fullback Andre Joubert, keep hitting high up and unders or knocking the ball deep into the corners. The crowd senses that something big is about to happen as Stransky kicks South Africa's first dropped goal since the retirement of Naas Botha. The Springboks know they have to keep the Wallabies pinned back, and their pressure is relentless as the Wallabies battle to get away from their own goal line. South Africa's dangerous scrum half Joost van der Westhuizen keeps probing and the Springboks almost score. In the words of the Box newly adopted song Shosholoza, they push. Push as one, and the Aussie halfbacks Liner and George Gregan start to show the strain. At a scrum close to the Wallabies line, Rudolf Strali and Joost van der Westhuizen combine to prize open a gap, and Stransky, cutting in on an angle, goes in to score the match-winning try. With Stransky having contributed 22 points, South Africa can celebrate a 27-18 victory over the world champions. This was the greatest day in the history of Springbok rugby.
We had a good performance today. We beat the world champions, but it's a one performance. Definitely, when you're the underdogs, it makes you a more tenacious side. And I think we were a bit more hungry than them on the day. But it was a great game, and I want to take nothing away from my players, the way they performed. And I would like to thank the crowd. I mean, when they got behind us, you know, you get that extra bit in the legs and you get that speed faster.
It was a great occasion, we knew it would be. And it was, you know, they were a fantastic crowd. They really supported the home side. And yeah, but I guess it wasn't easy playing out there in front of them, but really gave us a sense of occasion. It was good to be part of it out there.
But Rugby World Cup is not only about famous names. The competing teams came from the far corners of the world: Canada and Romania, Japan and Ireland, Italy and Western Samoa, Argentina nearly upsetting England, and an awesome challenge laid down by the All Blacks. The World Cup means different things to different teams. For some, it is good enough just to compete. For others, only victory will do. But others came to South Africa with a point to prove. Italy were such a team. They were always entertaining, and their big moment was when they beat Argentina. They were adjudged the best unseeded team, and they left South Africa hoping that their dream of playing in a European Six Nations was a little nearer to being accomplished.
I think the Italian players have proved that we have the ability to play in the Six Nations, and also our Rugby Federation has got the ability to let the rugby movement increase.
Romania, with neither the financial nor the player resources of their opponents, found themselves in a tough pool with South Africa, Australia and Canada. Undaunted, the Romanians scored their only try of the tournament against the Springboks at Newlands. And what a gem it was, before giving the Wallabies a hard battle at Stellenbosch. Argentina, battling to regain the position they held under the great Hugo Porter, played some of the closest games in the tournament, but nevertheless failed to reach the quarter-finals. Their fine pack of forwards and dynamic Bajada scrum, however, gives the Pumas great potential. Their biggest disappointment was losing by 6 points to England after scoring 2 tries to 0, but failing with 7 kicks at the posts and squandering a big lead to lose to Western Samoa in the key game of Pool B. Japan might have conceded a record score against New Zealand, but what they lacked in size, they made up for in guts and determination. The Japanese showed that rugby is a game of running and passing and scored some excellent tries. With a little more luck, they might have also beaten Ireland. The last series of pool games pitted the islanders of the South Pacific, Tonga, against Central Africa's representatives, the Ivory Coast. Both teams had shown that they are deserved members of the Brotherhood of Rugby, with the Ivorians scoring 2 tries against France. But then came the moment all players fear. Max Brito goes down and receives a catastrophic injury. He leaves the field on a stretcher. Max Brito has broken his neck. He will never walk again. The question must be asked, did this dreadful injury happen because the Ivorians were overmatched? Could it have been prevented? After the defeat against South Africa in the opening game, Australia got their show back on the road against Canada in Port Elizabeth. And it was Jason Little's break which set up Australia's exciting new find on the wing, Joe Roff, to score a try on debut. Ili Tabua kept up the momentum, Roff crossed again, and Michael Lynagh also got in on the act as the Aussies made sure of victory. Then it was on to one of the world's most picturesque grounds in Stellenbosch, where soaring peaks form the backdrop to the Dani Craven Stadium. Joe Roff was again the focus of attention as the Australians in their change strip took on Romania in a match held to commemorate the work done for rugby by South Africa's legendary Mr. Rugby, Dani Craven. Australia had the look of world champions as they started to string together the passes to create slick tries for Matthew Burke and David Wilson, while Long John Eales took over the goal kicking in impressive fashion. South Africa's next assignment was against Romania at Newlands, and after the high of the opening game, the Springboks were in poor form. Fielding all 11 players who had missed the first game, thus providing new caps for Marius Herter and Robbie Brink, the Bok backline could just not get going against shallow-lying opponents, and the only two tries, both by captain of the day Adrian Ruchter, were unspectacular pushover efforts. Romania, in their first meeting with the Springboks, successfully slowed the pace and gained the satisfaction of scoring the best try of the match as South Africa won by 21 points to 8. Next came the Battle of Boet Erasmus Stadium in Port Elizabeth. After a delay of 45 minutes because of floodlight failure, the action came thick and fast as South Africa played Canada for the right to go through to the quarterfinals. Canadian lock Al Sharon and South African centre Christian Scholz were sternly spoken to by referee David McHugh as a spirited Canadian team tried to run their way out of trouble. Instead, they ran right into it, as in the 70th minute, the torrid exchanges erupted into an ugly brawl. Springbok wing Peter Hendricks and his marker Winston Stanley became involved in a tussle. Canadian fullback Scott Stewart came recklessly charging in, and Springbok hooker James Dalton was the next man on the scene as the referee tried to regain control. Other scraps broke out as more players became involved, and it took a while for order to be restored. When the players did calm down, referee McHugh called out Dalton, as well as Canadian skipper Gareth Rees and their prop Rod Snow, and pointed to the tunnel. The first time that 3 players had been sent off in an international. Afterwards, both captains refused to take the blame.
No, we just felt we were trying to speed the game up, and a couple people went down rather bizarrely in open field. I won't name names, but we were trying to speed the game up, and I thought it was negative at times.
I mean, we're not naming names, but there was one stage there where you were seen to be remonstrating with the referee when Francois Pienaar was down. Do you think he went down intentionally?
We definitely went down intentionally. I don't know if he was hurt or not.
And they played very well, Canada. Make no mistake, they were committed, and they played an 80-minute game. They're very fit. So we'll have to look at the video. If a guy starts throwing punches at your teammate, I mean, it's up to the ref to help you. Otherwise, you must help your own guys.
Although Dalton's sending off would become an albatross hanging over the Springboks in the later stages, their first task had been accomplished. They had topped Pool A with a full house of 9 points, with Australia second on 7. Canada and Romania were out of the tournament. Fly half Rob Andrew kept the wheels on the England chariot turning with a superb display of kicking in their first game in Pool B against Argentina. Andrew contributed all England's 24 points in a 6-point victory, which might have gone the other way had Argentina not decided to leave out their leading goal kicker, José Sile. England were the favourites to win a competitive Pool B, which also included Italy and Western Samoa. Although creating plenty of opportunities for both Underwood brothers Tony and Rory, England were made to fight hard for their victories over both Italy and the fiery and tough-tackling Western Samoans. The Samoans in particular looked dangerous when moving the ball, and fears about the mobility of the big English pack seemed well-founded. Scrum half Dewey Morris had struck a fine seam of form, and he was a key man in giving directions to an English team under pressure to play a more expansive game. The key game in this section proved to be that between Argentina and Western Samoa, with the Islanders fighting back from a big deficit to qualify for the quarterfinals for the second time in a row. Claims that England would try to avoid finishing on top of their log in an effort to play South Africa rather than Australia in the quarterfinals proved unfounded as they battled to the end to beat Samoa at Kings Park in Durban.
That must surely be one of the most physical internationals you've been involved in.
Yeah, but we always knew it was going to be physical. They're quite an energetic side. But I thought we coped very well. I thought we reacted well for the first time. You know, the first two games were a bit slow. And this evening, I was very pleased.
England thus went through to the quarterfinals with an unblemished record. Western Samoa, thanks to wins over Italy and Argentina, took the second spot, while Italy salvaged some pride by beating Argentina to avoid finishing last. Ireland were indeed standing tall in Pool C, for their opponents were the tiny Japanese. In a high-paced game, there were tries for their excellent wing Simon Gagan and scrum half Niall Hogan, but the Irish were surprised by the spirit of the Samurai Warriors from the east. The Irish also had reason to celebrate in their match against Wales, as flanker Dennis McBride broke away for a fine try, and replacement Eddie Halvey followed him over the line as they repeated their victory over the Welsh during the Five Nations Championship. Props Nick Popplewell and Garrett Halpin were especially delighted, but in Pool C there was a dark cloud on the horizon. All Blacks had come to South Africa with a young, untested team, but no one quite expected what happened next. Although Halpin got a try against them at Ellis Park, there were signs that the New Zealanders, sparked by a flanker called Kroonveld, could still play with ruthless efficiency and fearless commitment. But what about this man? Jonah Lomu made a stunning impact from the moment he first touched the ball. As big as a lock and as fast as a wing, Lomu had the pace to run around his opponents, but it was the way in which he simply swept them aside that struck fear into all New Zealand's opponents. Wherever the All Blacks' lethal weapon wreaked havoc, there was Josh Kroonveld's helmeted figure following him like a shadow. It was just as well for the Japanese that Lomu was rested when they took on the All Blacks, as the Black Mean Machine ran in 21 tries, 6 of them to centre Mark Ellis, to accumulate the biggest World Cup win in history, 145 points to 17. Fly half Simon Culhane on his debut scored 45 points, and everyone knew the All Blacks meant business. Pool C ended with New Zealand way out in front, with Ireland managing to qualify thanks to their beating Wales. Even though the Japanese had been humiliated by the All Blacks, they at least had the satisfaction of playing more entertaining rugby than their opponents from the Northern Hemisphere. With Tonga and the Ivory Coast outclassed in Pool D, it was always going to be a battle between the flower of Scotland and the French cockerel. There was everything to play for in the final pool match between two seeded teams, and Scottish captain Gavin Hastings, who would be retiring after the World Cup, grabbed the initiative with a touchline break which set up a try for flanker Rob Wainwright, to the obvious delight of coach Doug Moran. But the French are nothing if not unpredictable. And just when it seemed Scotland were home and dry, Emile Ntamak sparked a stunning counter-attack. Marksman Thierry Lacroix was on target, and the Loftus Versfeld crowd sensed that they were in for an exciting finish. A concerted build-up gave France their last gasp chance, and the ball went spinning down the line where Ntamak popped up on the other wing to get France home. It felt good, and the French dubbed it their try out of Africa. This victory put France on top of Pool D and qualified them for a quarter-final against Ireland, while Ntamak's late try gave Scotland the unenviable task of having to play the All Blacks. Extra tension of sudden death shows on the faces of the players. They know that defeat means you pack your bags and go home. Fly half Paul Burke gives Ireland the lead, but there is to be no luck of the Irish as they concede too many penalties, and Thierry Lacroix makes them pay. Lacroix, the man who will end up topping the World Cup list of point scorers, kicks 8 penalties in all, but it is not until a charge by number 8 Marc Sessillon, which sets up a try for captain Philippe Saint-André, that France's safe passage is assured. Ireland keep trying, but it is not their day, and an interception by Ntamak leads to a try for the French at the other end of the park. France live on to fight another day, but for Ireland, the long slog to Wales 1999 has begun. South Africa play Western Samoa in their quarter-final, and the crowd are hoping the Boks will cut free and run the ball. And look who's back, the darling of Newlands and the hero of Ellis Park. Chester Williams is back to replace the suspended Peter Hendricks, and his return is a fairy tale. The little winger goes over for 1. 2. 3. 4 tries to set a new South African record in tests, and that is something worth smiling about. Williams was the highlight, but sadly Western Samoa hit a shameful high note of their own. Some shocking high tackles which went in on Andre Joubert by George Harder. On Joubert again by fullback Mike Umaga as he makes the pass for Chester Williams' first try. By Umaga again as he goes headhunting against Joost van der Westhuizen. This shove by Harder on Francois Pienaar is illegal. And possibly the worst offence of all is this charge on Mark Andrews when the Springbok is nowhere near the ball. Ellis Park was in no mood to wish Pat Lam and his Samoans a fond farewell. Surprisingly, it was the Samoans who had the most to say about the referee afterwards.
What did you think of the referee, Mr. Fleming's performance?
No comment. I think it'd be fair to say that we're disappointed in the refereeing today, and you people saw the display. We're disappointed with the refereeing.
A question for Chester. Chester, what is the try you will cut at the best one? The first, the second, the fourth, or the third? What is the most inside yourself?
I think all 4 tries must go to the eight forwards of the team. And I don't think I do think that they played very well today and gave us some good balls to play with. So I do think that the 4 tries must go to the forwards.
You see, just as being diplomatic, if I give over captaincy, he's going to become the captain.
Newlands the next day, it was Australia versus England. The quarter-final South Africa had avoided by beating the Wallabies in the opening game. In a tense game of cut and thrust, the Packs battled for superiority, and those supreme kickers, Michael Lynagh and Rob Andrew, matched penalties. But there was no way through in the backs as Australia failed to give David Campese space on the right. Then Michael Lynagh committed this fateful error to allow Rob Andrew to scoop before sending Jeremy Guscott, Will Carling and Tony Underwood away on a thrilling sprint to the distant corner. This reversal rocked the Wallabies, but they came back with an equally stunning try soon after the restart as Damian Smith leaped high to pluck Michael Lynagh's pinpoint up and under out of the sky before twisting and hurling himself over the line. The game seemed to be edging Australia's way when Lynagh put his team on level terms, but England had one more card to play. Brian Moore's Lynagh throw was taken by Martin Bayfield. The forward surged into the drive. Ben Clark ripped the ball free. Dewey Morris hurled it to Rob Andrew, and the fly half, who had saved England on so many previous occasions, stroked the ball sweetly through the uprights for the dropped goal of his life. England had won by the narrowest of margins and sent the world champions packing.
I've never played in anything like that. I really haven't. It's unbelievable. I mean, a great game, a truly great game, I think. So close. Some great rugby on both sides, and we were very lucky, to come out on top at the end.
The English defence was very well organised. They're a very well organised outfit, and there wasn't a lot of way through there. And in the end there, Rob came back with a magnificent pressure field goal.
It was a great reign by the Australians as world champions. It's now come to an end.
Yes, it has. I mean, 91 will always be fondly remembered for what we did then, and unfortunately we couldn't repeat it. And, we can't go on forever, and it's disappointing for us. And we gave it our best shot, and it just wasn't good enough.
other Sunday quarter-final of the weekend, the All Blacks in white blew Scotland away with this start. Merton skipped to Bunce, Bunce passes to Lomu, and away goes the Midnight Express. Lomu smashes through the tackles of Scott Hastings and Craig Joyner. In a word, awesome. Gavin Hastings, playing in what will be his last international if Scotland lose, tries desperately to get his team into the game with a long penalty and some spirited counter-attacking, including getting one back on Lomu. But it is this stupendous try by Andrew Mertens on behalf of New Zealand's new stars which ends the hopes of Scotland's brave captain and sets New Zealand on the road to the semi-finals. Scotland show that New Zealand might be vulnerable if you run the ball against them, and their reward is an excellent try by Scott Hastings. Gavin Hastings lines up one more long-range penalty. He misses, and it's over.
You said beforehand that this was going to be your last international appearance. Is it still going to be your last international appearance?
Yeah, it is. No, the time is right. I've worked extremely hard to get this far, and I've enjoyed every minute of it, but you know, it's time to move on or aside and let someone else fill the boots.
Of flower of Scotland, when will we see our like again?
The pipes skirl a farewell to a great man of rugby. When will we see his like again? And so, to the semi-finals, the Bokke against the Tricolour at a sodden Kings Park. The match gets underway 90 minutes late because referee Derek Bevan has declared the sodden field dangerous for play. The Springboks, however, seem to have webbed hands and feet as Mark Andrews, Joost van der Westhuizen, Pieter Durant, Kobus Wiese, Francois Pienaar and the rest of the forwards flood all over the French to force a penalty for killing the ball on the ground. Joel Stransky has the job of putting the Boks into the lead and coolly hooks the ball in off the right upright. As the rain begins to splatter down again, Bok skipper Francois Pienaar uses his head to help Van der Westhuizen drive the French back, while coaches Gysie Pienaar and Kitch Christie worry and try to keep dry. And Ntamac's cross kick comes right down in the pond in front of the Springboks posts. But fortunately, James Small and Andre Joubert somehow managed to stay afloat. Back upfield, it is the Boks' turn to mass for the drive, and the forwards push Ruben Kruger over for a well-deserved try. But the man who could deny the Springboks is goal kicker Thierry Lacroix, and he kicks 2 penalties to make it 10-6 to South Africa at half-time. Playing against South Africa suffer a blow when Joost van der Westhuizen has to leave the field as the French ignore the conditions to counter-attack with great spirit. And with the pressure mounting, Chester Williams makes a mistake by trying to run out of trouble. A scrum near South Africa's line sends a blue tide of Frenchmen chasing after Delard's punt as they try to snatch victory. Andre Joubert can't hold the ball, and it falls right in the path of a charging Abdel Benazi. But thanks to James Small's brave tackle, the big flanker comes down short of the line, and South Africa survive. France can still do it, but the Boks refuse to be pushed over. The ball goes to Lacroix, but he is smothered. Now it's a scrum to South Africa, and with the clock showing 42 minutes expired, Joel Stransky clears for touch to put the Springboks into the final. Ecstasy for the Springboks and a crowd who seem oblivious of the weather. And agony for Olivier Roumaud and Christian Califano as the Springboks win by 19 points to 15. The other semi-final is between New Zealand and England, two teams who have not met since 1993 when England won 15-8. An all-black ploy to get Jonah Lomu into the game as soon as possible pays off as Will Carling gets in Rory Underwood's way and New Zealand surge onto the attack. Lomu's first touch of the ball has the effect of demoralising England. Bishop tries to find the big winger with a long pass, and with the England loose forwards nowhere to be seen, Lomu gathers the ball and surges through Tony Underwood and Will Carling before taking the direct route straight over Michael Catt for a stunning try which shatters England's morale. And just seconds later, the All Blacks repeat the dose. Walter Little gathers in front of his posts and smashes through Jeremy Guscott's tackle. The centre unloads to fullback Glenn Osborne, who runs clear before putting the ball back inside to Little again. Back to Osborne, and then to the ever-present Kronfeldt to finish one of the tries of the tournament. The match had ceased to be a contest, but eighth man Zinzan Brook adds injury to insult by grabbing a poor clearance kick to drop an audacious goal from near the halfway line. Brook again, this time looking to set up Jonah Lomu. And this is why. And here comes Lomu again to score his third try as the Black Machine powers into top gear.
I'm hoping not to see him again myself, but if we do, I think we'll have to work at that one. He's awesome, he's a freak, and the sooner he goes away, the better.
Will Carling's point is well made because here comes try number 4.
I'm not so sure the New Zealanders would like to tackle him as well, mind you. He's a big bastard.
You said it, Gavin. England show some bulldog spirit to fight back and create a try for their greatest try scorer, Rory Underwood, thus managing to make the scoreline more respectable, but they were never really in it. The applause is for the All Blacks as they qualify to meet South Africa in the final. Before that, though, there is one more game, the battle for third place between France and England at Loftus Versfeld. For much of a poor game, the result hinges on the goal-kicking duel between the two masters of the art, England's Rob Andrew and France's Thierry Lacroix, the highest point scorer in the tournament. But this pushover try to France's Olivier Roumard breaks the deadlock and causes the English to be even more glum. Finally, a typical passage of flair enables the French to finish in style as Ntamak jinks his way over after a 22-metre dropout. The try gives the French cockerels something to crow about, as it is their first win over England since 1988 and ensures that they will be one of the 3 seeds for the next World Cup in Wales in 1999.
You know, it's very hard because, you know, we came here, we wanted to win the World Cup, and when you get knocked out, it's very hard to pick yourself up, but that was the challenge for us. And we didn't rise to it, which is very, very disappointing. You know, people have said, of course, maybe there's a bit more incentive for them. They haven't beaten us for whatever it is, 7 or 8 games, so it's a nice way for them to finish, but it's not the ideal way for us to finish.
And so to the dream final, the Springboks against the All Blacks at Ellis Park.
Ons het 'n trap vandag. Ons het die Wallabies gewallop en die All Blacks sal vlieg vandag.
22-18 Bokke.
The tension is tangible as Andrew Mertens messes up a trick kick-off. But the pace is fast and furious as fullback Glenn Osborne breaches the first gap for the All Blacks, and the ball comes swinging to the left as the New Zealanders try to bring Jonah Lomu into play. The Springboks are penalised in the 5th minute, and Mertens puts the All Blacks into the lead 3-0. Next, it is Joel Stransky who has to endure the acute pressure of kicking at the posts, but the Springbok fly half makes no mistake, 3-all. All Black lock Ian Jones is in magnificent form. And the moment South Africa feared, Jonah Lomu crashes through the middle, but Joost van der Westhuizen stops him dead, and Mark Andrews saves. The All Blacks are not scared to run the ball, but the Springboks put their bodies on the line and tackle like demons. Back come the Boks with Joost van der Westhuizen as always in front. Ruben Kruger is driven over for what seems a good try, but referee Ed Morrison says no. Having weathered the storm of early All Black attacks, the Boks start to gain the ascendancy. And when the ball comes back from a maul, Stransky steadies himself to drop a goal. This makes the score 9-6 in South Africa's favour after 31 minutes. The All Blacks keep trying to set up Lomu, but there is no way through. James Small hurls him to the ground. Japie Mulder and Henny Leroux put the brakes on. And then, as Lomu works up some pace, Hannes Strydom and Chris Rousseau bring him down. The best tackle of the day, though, belongs to Japie Mulder. With the big man charging around the outside, Mulder lines him up and smashes him into touch. Try as they might, the All Blacks just could not break through South Africa's committed tackling. A blindside break by the dangerous Joost van der Westhuizen created an opportunity for James Small on the right. But this time it was Lomu and Glenn Osborne who were perfectly placed to blunt the Springbok threat. Deadlock, a second half penalty by Mertens forced the game into extra time, 10 minutes each way. And because of their previous disciplinary record, the Springboks knew that they'd have to score. Imagine the weight on those broad shoulders. The All Blacks have the advantage of the kickoff and their spirits rise when Mertens puts them into a 12-9 lead after less than a minute of extra time. Then a great opportunity for the Boks. But this pass from James Small to Joel Stransky is adjudged forward and they called back. But with just 10 minutes left, Stransky makes it level pegging again with one of the hardest kicks of all from straight in front of the posts. But unless the Boks can score again to get in front, they will lose. A draw is not good enough. Then it happens. Scrum, ball to Stransky, drop, and it's over. 7 minutes remain, but the Springboks hold out as they wait for the final whistle. They've done it on a day of guts and glory. The Springboks have become world champions.
It's very emotional. The team has played superbly. It's been the greatest 6 weeks of my life. The All Blacks played brilliant rugby. They kept in for the extra 20 minutes. I want to take my hat off to them, playing a superb tournament. And well done, Sean, you and your men.
The Springboks' other number 6, President Nelson Mandela, presents rugby's golden grail, the William Webb Ellis Trophy, to Francois Pienaar. Rugby World Cup 1995, South Africa.